the channel about another reaction video. We got the NFC North is going to be insane. Let's check this
The
out.
Detroit Lions set a franchise record in
Alright.
2024 as they won 15 games and won the NFC North for the second consecutive year. They had a dominant regular season as they put up a franchise record
NFC North gonna be a
564
fucking
points and
bloodbath,
sprinted through
bro.
most of the regular season. The playoffs
Just
for
like it
them
was
and for the
last year.
Vikings and Packers were a much different story.
I
as
just
the Vikings
hope
went
this year at least one of these teams can get past the first round, bro. Cause I ain't gonna lie, for them to have the best division in the NFL last year, not one of them had a single playoff win.
14-3 in the regular
I
season,
was hoping at
much
least
to
the Lions
surprise
would,
of
you know what
everyone,
I'm saying,
with
get
two
to
of their
the
losses to
NFC
the
Championship
Detroit
game.
Lions and the other being to the Los Angeles Rams. Green Bay had one of the most quiet 11-win seasons of all time, due in large part to the success the Vikings and Lions had, but they made the playoffs nonetheless. Now, Chicago was a much different story, as after starting out 4-2, they lost in Washington on the Hail
Commanders
Mary,
ended
and the
their
rest of their
season, bro.
season spiraled from there. But heading into 2025, the future for this division is insanely bright. And there was a point in 2024 where every team in the NFC North was top 5 in the NFL in point difference. And this division is going to be a complete pain in the rear end to play. And in today's video, we're going to break down just how good the NFC North is and how good they will be for the next few years. And
Bro,
if you could like the
nigga,
video
it is
before we
insane. Bro had 1,400 yards with sharing carries with David Montgomery. That goes to show you how dangerous he is, bro. Imagine if he wasn't splitting carries. He probably would have hit 2K last year.
start, I'd
Like,
really
no
appreciate
bullshit.
it. And without further ado, let's begin.
Alright.
And we are starting today's video with the Green Bay Packers.
That boy
Despite
J-Love.
the Packers being a wild
J-Lo
card
gotta-
exit
he
last
gotta
year,
calm
they
down
still
on
won 11
interceptions,
games
bro.
and finished top 8 in both offensive and defensive points per game. What was unfortunate for Green Bay is who they lost their 6 games to in 2024. They were 1-5 in the division as they were swept by both the Lions and Vikings and
Oh my
lost the
gosh.
Week 18 game against the Bears before losing in the wild card round to the Philadelphia
Hey,
Eagles.
realistically though, they could have got swept throughout the whole division if they didn't block that field goal against the Bears
The
early in
loss
the year.
outside of the division was also to the Eagles in Week 1,
Damn,
which was
1
the
and 5
Friday
is
night Brazil
crazy.
game. And because the Packers were a team that lost in the wild card round last year and ultimately finished third in their division despite winning 11 games, they did not receive a lot of media attention last year. But this team is
Facts.
going to be really solid again in 2025, and the common theme throughout today's video is that you can't dismiss any of these teams and pencil them in as an easy win.
Y'all think
They are all
Matthew
too talented,
Golden
and while I admittedly don't think the Packers are
really,
going to
you
win
know what
the
I'm saying,
Super
goes
Bowl
crazy this year as wide
or
receiver
even go
one?
to the NFC Championship game for that
Hopefully.
matter, they are a very high floor
Y'all
team
niggas
that I
got
think
straight
will
wide receiver
improve in
2s
some
and
areas
3s, boy.
compared to last year. A big part of Jordan Love's game in 2023 was his ability to extend the play, and as simple as this is, take what was in front of him, both in the air and on the ground. And while you wouldn't confuse Jordan Love with Lamar Jackson, I am a firm believer that he was limited for a lot of 2024 based on the injury he suffered late in Week 1 against the Eagles.
That is fair.
And obviously when you're limited, that's going to affect how you play. Inevitably it did, as Jordan Love had just 83 rushing yards for the entire 2024 season.
Damn.
But the offense this year is going to be a fun unit, as the Packers drafted a receiver in the first round for the first time since 2002, as they
I
selected
wasn't even
wide
born
receiver
yet.
Matthew Golden, who should immediately help out this passing attack that desperately needs it. Green Bay had a handful
Golden
of
gonna be a
receivers that
dog.
were not bad, but certainly not guys that could take over the game either, and having Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, and tight end Tucker Kraft to throw the ball to will be very beneficial for not just Jordan Love, but for Josh Jacobs too. Jacobs, of course, had over 1,600 total yards and had 16 total touchdowns in his first year with Green Bay, and I fully expect him to be in the playoff hunt again in 2025. The one thing I really worry about with this team is, well, it's division, of course, but specifically their corners. The Packers recently released Jair Alexander, and for as good of a free agent
That
signing
boy
as
a
Xavier
Raven
McKinney was
now,
at safety,
you know what I'm
you
saying?
can't play everywhere, and having your top corners at this point be guys like Harrington
And
Valentine,
I
Keyshawn
did
Nixon,
hear that they trying to move Bo Melt in the corner. Nigga trying to be like his brother and shit. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all, Packers, y'all need to go out and get somebody, bro. Whether it's Asante Samuel, Gilmore, who else out there? Rasul Douglas. Trade for Jalen Ramsey. Do something, bro, because Nate Hobbs, he ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying, really hold down the fort like that. You know what I'm
Nate
saying?
Hobbs in a
He a
division
solid
with
corner
guys
for
like
sure,
Justin
but
Jefferson,
I don't
Amon-Ra
think
St. Brown,
he's
DJ
like
Moore,
number
and
one
really the
corner
list goes
type.
on, leads me to believe this is
he had his
going
ups
to
and
be a
downs with
very
the Raiders.
limited team in 2025. They will have a high floor, of course, and again, I would be very surprised if they're not in playoff contention, but in January, when it's time to go against the best of the best the NFL has to offer, even for as good as I think the Packers offense will be this year, I can't help but think their secondary is going to be a liability when it matters most, and in some ways their pass rush too. Green Bay not addressing the secondary until the 7th round of the draft was frustrating, but they are still a formidable opponent, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this team win 10 games this year. Now, if there is one feeling I wish I could recreate from my younger years, it would be the thrill and anticipation of opening a pack of football cards.
Okay.
And a couple will be able to card offer for Slab Pack Com, and it is going to sound, I think we're at a point where the Lions are legitimately underrated heading into 2025. I think the common belief is that because they won 15 games last year, and because Ben Johnson is now the head coach of the Bears, and that Aaron Glenn is the head coach of the Jets, and
that's why I'm interested to see what's going to happen, bro, with the offense and defense. I really do think their offense is going to take a step back because of, you know what I'm saying, Ben Johnson leaving. Defense, on the other hand, I don't know, because they still got some dogs, bro. Hutch going to be healthy. They drafted Tyleek Williams. They brought in DJ Reed. You know what I'm saying? If they can stay healthy, that's gonna be a top 5 unit, bro, in my opinion.
Position coaches from the 2024 Lions.
That offense, bro, that offense might be a little shaky without Ben Johnson.
We'll and see. That former center Frank
they
still
got all their pieces,
that the Lions
too.
Are inevitably going to fall off. And while, yes, I do think they will, quote-unquote, fall off, let's just be real here, guys. I don't think they're going to win 15 games in 2025, and I don't think they would have won 15 games even if they still had Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Repeating 15-win seasons is incredibly difficult for anybody, but the Lions can still win 12 games and go to the NFC Championship game, or they can still go to the Super Bowl, because remember, they are still an extremely talented roster, and they are still set up for not just 2025, but for 2026 and beyond too. Now, is there going to be a little bit of a drop-off or a transition period from Ben Johnson to John Morton, the team's new offensive coordinator? Probably yes, but John Morton is not a stranger to this team. He was a senior offensive assistant back in 2022, and what also has to be remembered is, while I do think Ben Johnson is a very good offensive mind, it is very much fair to say that the Lions' offense is absolutely loaded, and it's very much like naming guys from a loaded 2001 Miami Hurricanes roster, where you have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Taylor Decker, and Penei Sewell. And a guy who I think is really underrated heading into the year is 2024 6th-round pick Christian Mahogany, and a player who I think will break out this year.
It's my first time hearing about, bro.
Whether the play caller is Ben Johnson or John Morton, they should still have a relatively high level of success because of how loaded the offense is.
As long as the play calling is good, they're going to be straight, because, you know, the talent is not an issue. It's just the matter of play calling. We know how Ben Johnson was with play calling last year, bro. So if they can call the right plays, bro, consistently, hey, Lions, Lions might still be, you know what I'm saying, 2024 Lions.
But I do think it is fair to say that I don't think the 2025 Lions will be as injured defensively as much as they were last year. At least I sincerely hope not. And that getting players like Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, and not just those guys, but several other guys back is going to be critical for their success this year. And I do think Hutch was well on his way to winning a Defensive Player of the Year award last year, as he had 45 pressures in really 4.5 games. And he also had 7.5 sacks. And I do think that he would have been on pace for another 100-plus pressure season, as well as a 14, 15, maybe even 17 or 18.5 sack type year.
He would have won
the Defensive Player of the Year on a 15-win team. The biggest thing for the 2025 Lions offense that I have no doubt as to whether or not they're going to be able to do is consistently run the football. They finished top 10 in every major rushing category last year, which is of course rushing attempts, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and yards per carry. And I don't think that Frank Ragnow retiring is going to have them go from 9th in yards per carry as a team to something like 28th in yards per carry, because at the end of the day, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are still both very good at what they do. And one of the things that I don't think is discussed enough is how smart and how good of a coach Dan Campbell is. I legitimately think there is this misbelief that, Dan Campbell was just sitting there in offensive meetings, that Ben Johnson was running everything, and that in a lot of ways Dan Campbell is this big meathead, and the complexity of his offense is running the ball up the middle with David Montgomery. He is an incredibly smart football coach, and he hasn't lucked into the success that he's had over the past couple of years and going 27-7 over the course of the last 2 regular seasons. That does not happen by accident, and I think we're going to see a lot of that in 2025 is more success from the offense, but ultimately Dan Campbell have an even bigger role than what he's had over the course of the past 2 years. To me, the Detroit Lions are still one of the most talented teams in the NFL. Now,
Facts.
will losing Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and even Frank Ragnow to retirement, and a couple of other guys to free agency too, have an impact on their team this year? Absolutely, yes. It would be ignorant to sit here and say that it's not. It would also be ignorant to say that, hey, they are going to repeat a 15-win season and run it back and be the number one seed in the conference again. Could they be the number one seed in the conference this year? Absolutely. They are a very, very talented team. They still have a lot of guys in rookie contracts that they're going to need to take advantage of, with guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and Jack Campbell, and several others still on the rookie deals before they get paid. They are in a tight window because of all of those guys getting paid and then having to replace all of those guys with the rookie contracts and having guys like Jahmyr Gibbs go for 1,900 yards on a rookie deal, but they're still a really talented team pertaining to their 2025 success, and I have no doubt the Lions, if they stay relatively healthy, of course, will be a double-digit win team for the third.
He had a crazy run against the Titans in this game.
Next up is the Chicago Bears, and I understand people getting frustrated with everyone hyping up the Bears every offseason, only for them to go 7-10 in 2023 and 5-12 in 2024, including a 10-game losing streak last year. But this video is discussing the NFC North, and there's 3 teams in this division that won 11 games last year.
And what's crazy, bro, people not giving Caleb enough credit of like how good he actually played last year, bro. Like, if you look at it now, his QBR wasn't all that good, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at the stats, bro, he played solid, bro. Over 3,500 yards last year, bro. If this offensive line can step up from last year, which it most likely should, you know what I'm saying, because of how good they improved it. If they do, and then along with the weapons that he got, bro, he should throw for 4K this year, bro. Let's keep it a buck.
14 or more games.
But it's the Bears, so don't really expect too much from them niggas. But they got so much talent,
and one of the
to be
reasons
good,
is
bro.
not just due to Ben Johnson, because I think at this point the hype surrounding Ben Johnson can get a little or a lot out of hand, and I also think there is this belief that Ben Johnson is a miracle worker and Caleb Williams is going to go from a kind of
look at this, bro. 3,500, 20 passing touch, 6 picks. Like, bro, he had almost 500 rushing yards too. So he pretty much almost had what 4,000 total yards, bro. Hey, bro, Caleb might go crazy this year, bro.
Disappointing rookie season, at least based on the expectations he had coming out of USC, to a legit top 6 or 7 quarterback in one offseason. And while in theory that could happen, 2 of the biggest reasons I'm excited for the Bears in 2025 is
you do got to stop holding on to the ball too long.
Caleb, but also the offensive line being upgraded too. And we live in a world where the truth eventually comes out, and what I'm referring to here is there was reports recently that nobody was sitting down and watching film with Caleb Williams during his rookie season. Now, obviously, Caleb is a professional athlete, and I don't want to say he should be coddled his entire career, but this was a 22-year-old number 1 overall pick in his rookie season. And my point is, every young quarterback should have the opportunity to sit down and watch film with either their OC or head coach regularly. And the fact this was not a regular occurrence, to me, was kind of a slap in Caleb's face, because this is the bare minimum that should be done in terms of helping your number 1 overall pick. And again, I do think Ben Johnson getting hired to be the Bears head coach can be a little overblown at times, or a little overhyped, but even if you are out on Caleb Williams entering year 2, I would hope that you can acknowledge that him having a significantly upgraded play caller should help out Caleb Williams this year. And not to mention stability within play calling too, as Caleb is already onto his 4th play caller in his career, and we haven't even started his 2nd season yet.
Wait, for real?
Now, do I think the Bears are going...
There's no way it's off his NFL career, right? It's got to be like including college. There's no fucking way for it already.
13-4 in Ben Johnson's first year as the team's head coach. No, and I don't know if any realistic Bears fans actually do. Keyword there being realistic Bears fans. Now, do the Bears have some limitations in the run game and defensively too? Yes. They do not have a guy who can get after the quarterback as consistent as you'd like, and that's not to say Montez Sweat is a bad player, because he's not, but
Von
he
Miller's
is not
still
a
out there.
tier 1
If he
pass
can
rusher
stay
by
healthy,
any means either. He's not a legit franchise cornerstone, and there's nothing wrong with that, because they traded a 2nd-round pick for him, and not every player can be a franchise cornerstone. But for the Bears heading into 2025, they are a much improved team from where they were in 2024, and also added 2 of my favorite players in the 25 draft in tight end Colston Loveland and wide receiver Luther Burden to an offense that already has DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. I'll be completely honest, I know I personally have hyped up the Bears in each of the last 2 off seasons, but I don't think they're going to win the division this year. But what 2025 should be for Chicago is a relatively high stepping stone for where they will be in 2026 and beyond. There's no reason this team can't win 7 to 9 games this year and flirt with a postseason appearance, only to build on this and win double-digit games next year and be a legit threat in January. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings, and as a lot of you guys know, I am a Minnesota Vikings fan, so I'll just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. I do not think this team, as talented as they are, and as much as they improved from a 14-win team last year, is going to repeat that level of success and win 14 games again for the second consecutive year. Now, I do think there is a higher chance that they win.
I don't know who allowed them to get both Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave to add to that dangerous-ass D-line already. But somebody got to be investigated, bro.
12 games this year and win a playoff game. But I do not think they're going to win 14 games. And the playoff game and winning a playoff game also applies to the Lions as well, despite me not thinking they're going to have back-to-back 15-win seasons. The Minnesota Vikings are set up for success for not just 2025, but really the next couple of years, because now instead of having
JJ might have a
high quarterback contract, they drafted JJ McCarthy with the highest selection they've ever spent on a quarterback in franchise history, as he was selected at number 10.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. A lot of people was hyping up JJ, saying he might have been the best quarterback in the draft class last year, which I won't buy in that at all. But he is a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't think he was better than, Jaden Daniels or Drake May or, Caleb Williams. But I feel like JJ McCarthy definitely is a good quarterback. And he might have a good season where he throws for probably like 3,700 yards, probably like 20 tuds. I'll throw in probably like 8-9 interceptions in there. He gonna have a solid season for sure, though.
Rookie quarterback contract.
But I feel like they should definitely be a run-first team.
Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw,
you know what I'm saying, to take more of the pressure off of them,
and several others to name a few.
We'll see.
One of the biggest reasons as to why I'm high on the Vikings entering the 2025 season is because of the prioritization of the interior offensive line and also the prioritization of the backup running back this offseason. Despite the Vikings winning 14 games last year, this was not a team like the Philadelphia Eagles where they could have Saquon Barkley run behind that big offensive line and, wear you down in the fourth quarter where he's picking up 6, 7, 8, 10 yards a carry, and there's really no answer for it because your defense is not only that gassed, but also that physically less dominant compared to the Eagles' offensive line. The Vikings finished 26th in yards per carry last year, and their interior offensive line was a train wreck. They also had left tackle Christian Darrisaw go down with a torn ACL midway through the year, which also factored into the lack of run game over the course of the regular season. The Vikings' interior offensive line last year was led by Blake Brandel, Garrett Bradbury, Dalton Reisner, and Ed Ingram, and there's only one of the 4 players from that quartet that is still on the roster in Blake Brandel, and there's ultimately a reason for that. Bradbury, a former first-round pick, was released, and Ed Ingram was traded to the Texans for pennies on the dollar compared to where he was drafted, which was back in the second round back in 2022, and the key reason that he was traded for just a 6th-round pick was because he is not very good. But Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah went out and traded a 6th-round pick for Jordan Mason this offseason.
He was a good fill-in for CMC when he was hurt.
Trade Ed Ingram to the Texans for Jordan Mason, a talented running back from the 49ers, was a tremendous move. And to be able to have both Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason run behind the offensive line, a lot of people forgot about that move, bro. That was one of the most underrated moves of the offseason so far. And Brian O'Neill, and a much improved interior offensive line in Donovan Jackson, Will Fries, and Ryan Kelly is a really good recipe to set your team up for success entering the 2025 season, and ultimately in a year where you are starting not a rookie quarterback, but might as well be a rookie quarterback because he's never thrown an NFL pass in J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings also upgraded the defense in a big way this offseason as they brought in guys along the interior defensive line like Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. And if the Super Bowl proved anything, it was that you have to be able to get after the quarterback routinely. Facts. And to be able to have both of those guys along with Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel and even 2024 first-rounder Dallas Turner as a rotational player, be able to get after the quarterback is huge for a team that has deep postseason aspirations. Unfortunately, this team was limited from a coverage standpoint last year by having Stephon Gilmore on the roster, so they didn't really run a lot of cover one, and their cover one percentage was significantly lower than the rest of the NFL.
Other than Byron Murphy, what other corners
they got on the roster? Isaiah Rodgers they brought back Byron Murphy, and will also be getting 2023 third-round corner Mekhi Blackman back from injury, who unfortunately tore his ACL before the
Blackman solid. That's the corner
this
from
team
USC,
is significantly improved, coming off of a 14-win season, and like we mentioned mentioned in the intro for the Vikings segment, I don't think they're going to have back-to-back 14-win seasons, but I do think they are going to be a very formidable opponent for
I think they won
this
like
year,
11,
but ultimately
12
the
games.
next couple of years, as they are in the quarterback contract window with J.J. McCarthy. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as we are closing into 200,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Please check out Arena Club as well, and until next time, please be safe.
Hey, man.
Have a great
Shit, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Who y'all think is going to win the division? I don't know, bro, because, like, in the NFL, anything can happen. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the Lions are going to be the favorites to win that division because, you know, they've won it the last couple years. But I don't know, bro. I don't know, because all four of those teams are very talented. Bears, I don't want to say they could win the division because it is the Bears at the end of the day. But I don't know. I feel like any one of those teams could win the division, but I don't know. I might go out on a limit and keep it safe and say the Lions, bro. But hey, man, should y'all let me know what other NFL videos I want to react to? Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they chow me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.